Peace and love to the family. You know who it is. You know who it be. DC, Corbin. I thank y'all for rocking with me. It's going to be a beautiful presentation. This is going to be called The Prophets of Yesterday and the Prophecies of Today. Once again, that is the prophets of yesterday and the prophecies of today. As always, thank y'all for rocking with me wherever you at, in your living room, your bedroom, or in your kitchen, whipping it up. This one is going to be dedicated to a lot of people, but one sister in general. She is no longer with us in the physical realm, but best believe in the spiritual and above, she is with us. And I'm talking about Sylvia Brown. For y'all who, like me back in the day, grew up on a 3-channel system on your television, she used to come on the Montel Williams show and drop prophetic knowledge, foreshadowing. I loved her aura. I loved her physical. I love her spiritual, her strength, her courage, and the pride that she had was everything that I knew I would always have in a woman. And I always respected in a woman because I seen it and had it within my mother and a lot of the ladies that I was raised around and was blessed to raised around. This presentation is going to be dedicated to Sylvia Brown. And after this presentation, of course, make sure you go Google the beautiful sister. Like I said, she is no longer with us in the physical, but in the spiritual, she is still with us. So if you can see my beautiful sister, and I know you can, let me zoom in a little more. Sylvia Brown. This is dedicated to her. So, what is a prophet? Well, there's many ways and many terminologies to describe a prophet. But since we got the internet, let's see what they say it is. Well, once you Google it, it says, a person regarded as an inspired teacher or a proclaimer of the will of God. And for my religious family out there, because you know, with the Darius Corbin channel, we never left the Bible. You might be asking yourself, well, how does a Bible define a prophet? Well, they define it as a person who speaks for God or a deity. Let me say that part again. The Bible defines a prophet as a person who speaks for God or a deity or by divine inspiration. In the Old Testament, a person chosen to speak for God and to guide the people of Israel. Moses was the greatest of Old Testament prophets, so the states. And we'll leave that there. So now that you have a quick understanding of what a prophet, let's break down some of the ancient prophets and prophecies on the Darius Corbin channel, because this is the esoteric, the hidden knowledge, and the metaphysic channel. So in this book, Sylvia Brown, and I want you to look her up also because when the pandemic first hit, a lot of people did their research and they dug up one of her books and found out that not only did she correctly say that the pandemic would come in the exact year, probably I think she also named it pandemic, but she damn sure said exactly where it was going to be, the pandemic was going to come from. Look that up. But she wrote a book, and this book is called Sylvia Brown. Let me make sure you can read that. Sylvia Brown, Prophecies. Sylvia Brown, Prophecies. And she gave respect and acknowledgement to ancient prophets. And also, because I'll probably end up doing a part 2, especially if you guys like it. And thank you for rocking with me and liking it. And if you don't like it, thank you for watching and having your opinion, because you do have that. But we're going to dive in on some ancient prophets before the biblical times. And we're going to first start with the American Indians. And she's telling a story, because I don't want to run in too long. She's telling a story about a friend that she had who was doing a documentary on the ancient Indians. And she talks about the many tribes of the Native Americans and the many tribes, of course, of the Native American nations that each have their own distinct language, customs, and cherished legacy of prophecies. But even their prophecies reflect their reverence for the earth and our essential spirit connection to it, without which humankind can and won't survive. One of the most beautiful examples is an excerpt from a Lakota, and that's spelled Lakota, Lakota prophecy. And obviously, this is an ancient American Indian tribe, because respect to Africa and Egypt, which I got a chance to step into outside Cairo and see the beauty of it. Respect to the ancient Egyptians, but Egypt is not the only place that has the essence of who we are, the knowledge and the gnosis that goes back many and many of eons ago. And these prophets foreshadow the future that we now currently live in. So the old saying goes, how can you know your future if you don't know where you've been? A lot of us claim to be here, there, and everywhere, but still have lineage in America. Our blood still runs in America. DNA still runs in America. Our ancestors ran this shit before it was America. So it's time to see what those ancestors' prophecies and foreshadows were. So maybe we can get a little bit of, if not clarity, but a little bit of understanding and preparation for the decades to come. So once again, I thank you for rocking with the Darius Corbin channel. And as always, it's going to be a good one. Let's read that back again. But even their prophecies reflect their reverence for this earth and our essential spiritual connection to it, without which humankind can't and won't survive. One of the most beautiful examples is an excerpt from a Lakota prophecy. It refers to the star people who many tribes believe to be their ancient extraterrestrial ancestors and the sacred mother who is the earth. Now let me read that one more time. One of the most beautiful examples is an excerpt from a Lakota prophecy. It refers to the star people whom many tribes believe to be their ancient extraterrestrial ancestors, and to the sacred mother who is earth. Now let's read this prophecy. Coming from the Lakota prophecies. In the next decade, the star people that you call meteorites will come to this earth in answer to the mother's call for help. You see, we are all relations. So the star people are beings, and they are the planets and the other bodies in the heavens as well. The sacred mother, that mother God. The sacred mother is screaming for life, and the meteorites will hear her cries and answer her call for help. They will hit the earth from the heavens with such force that many internal things will happen as well as external. The earth will move as a result of the impact. This will cause the sacred fire that is the source of all life to the mother to move through her body. The rains will change their fall, and the winds will alter their course, and what has existed for 300 years will no longer exist. And where there is summer, there will be fall. And where there is fall, there will be winter. And where there is winter, there will be spring. The animals and plants will become confused. And listen, there will be great plagues. The animals and plants will become confused. I said, listen, there will be great plagues that you do not understand. Many of these plagues are born from your scientists whose attentions have gone awry. Can we stop right there right quick? Family, this is thousands year old. Can y'all see that? The American Indians is what we're talking about. Did you hear what they just said? So, all right, I'll read it again. The animals and plants will become confused. There will be great plagues that you do not understand. Many of these plagues are born from your scientists whose intentions have gone awry. These plagues, no, listen. Your scientists have let these monsters loose upon the land. These plagues will spread through your waters and through your blood and through your food because you have disrupted the natural chain through which your mother cleanses herself. And for those who have watched the Darius Corbin channel for these 75, 76 videos straight, I thank you because you understand. To my elite enlightened ones, you understand. Only those who have learned to live on the land will find sanctuary. Go to where the eagles fly, to where the wolf roams, to where the bear lives. Here you will find life because they will always go to where the water is pure and the air can be breathed. Live where the trees, the lungs of the earth, purify the air. There is time coming beyond the weather, the veil between the physical and the spiritual world is thinning. It's thinning. And this came from Brave Buffalo of the Brule Sioux Nation. And that's spelled Sioux, just in case I may pronounce that wrong or say it wrong. And he says, this is Brave Buffalo of the Brule, which is Brule, Sioux, Sioux Nation. It is time for the great purification. We are at a point of no return. The two-legged are about to bring destruction to life on earth. Damn, the two-legged. I'm going to read that again. It is time for great purification. We are at a point of no return. The two-legged are about to bring destruction on earth. However you want to word it. It's happening. It's happened before. It's happened before, and it's about to happen again. The sacred hoop shows how all things go in a circle. The old becomes new. The new becomes old. Everything repeats. White people have no culture. Culture is having roots in earth. People without culture don't exist very long because nature is God. Without a connection to nature, the people drift, grow, negative, destroy themselves. In the beginning, we had one mind and it was positive, a thing of beauty, seeing beauty everywhere. And for those who may think Corbin just flipped to a whole racist aspect, I hope you can maybe see that, maybe read it. And if you still do, it don't matter anyway, because I tell you bring a pen and pad every time I read. This is what the American Indians said. Thousands, probably millions ago. And if you out there say, what? Say that again, Corbin. I don't mind at all. This is from Brave Buffalo of the Brule Nation. It is time for the great purification. We are at a point of no return. The two-legged are about to bring destruction to life on earth. It happened before, and it's about to happen again. The sacred hoop shows how all things go in a circle. The old becomes new, the new becomes old. Everything repeats. White people have no culture. Culture is having roots in the earth. People without culture don't exist very long because nature is God. Without a connection to nature, the people drift, grow negative, destroy themselves. In the beginning, we had one mind, and it was positive, a thing of beauty, seeing beauty everywhere. Now, that was the American Indians. The first part I read was a prophecy. The second part was Brave Buffalo of the Brule Sioux Nation, pretty much letting it all hang out of where they were and what needed to be done, along with the prophecies. Guys, we know history. So this is not, and for those who don't, you're either too ignorant to find out, too blind to see, or too arrogant to care. We know the history. Respect your history, not his story. Respect and research your history, not his story. Now that was the American Indians. Now, miles and miles, as the sister Sylvia Brown says, half a world away, now we have this group called the Australian Aboriginals. The Australian Aboriginals. And for y'all who have been to Australia, I've never been. It looks like a beautiful place. You can see all the city life, but beyond that, there is this like forest, whatever you want to call it, forest, and this civilization within it called the Aboriginals, the Australian Aboriginals. And their civilization and their set has a longer lineage on this planet than the ancient Egyptians. True story. The Australian Aboriginals have been around quite some time. How many of y'all seen, and I don't think this was actually the Australian Aboriginals, but how many of y'all remember the story of the missionary that tried to come to an island that has never really, for thousands and thousands of years, really never had no outside contact outside of their own. Nothing about religion, just their ancient beliefs. This guy came with the Bible. They seen it from a distance. They shot arrows at this guy for warning. Shot one of the arrows, hit the Bible. The guy turned around, came back. Now that was the warning. Like, listen, you're not welcome here. He came back. He got that arrow work again to his chest. They killed him. He they drug him back where he was never heard from again. Now, this is the Australian Aboriginals that we will be talking about. That story is just about another tribe. You can look that story up. Missionary goes to an island trying to preach the word and gets executed. You gotta understand, religion at its best is 2,000 years old, especially when we're talking about Christianities. These people had a belief and knew their shit way before religion dictated any being on this earth. You had a connection to the divine beings. And this is before you die and go to heaven. Our extraterrestrial connection, our connection in the inner worlds. But anyway, half a world away, I'm going to read this. Half a world away from the American Indians and very probably unaware of their existence, the Australian Aborigines are thought to have been on this earth for more than 18,000 generations. From their ancient beginnings, they've been nomadic hunters and gatherers, traveling and living in clans, orally passing their culture and traditions along from one generation to the next and to the next. They were revered nature and their elders. They revered nature and their elders. They are intensely connected to both the practical and the spiritual sides of their lives. How many of us are? How many of us today are connected to the practical and the spiritual sides of our lives? And they embrace a gorgeous mythology called the dream time. And this is where I am going to need my elite and late ones and those watching to listen up. They embrace a gorgeous mythology called the dream time that lies at the heart of their belief system. Let's get ready to listen. The dream time, which is woven through Aboriginal lives in a variety of daily applications, is at its core their treasure account of that time when their spirit ancestors moved through the bare, unsanctified land and gave it its physical form and its sacred laws. There was a rainbow serpent who slithered across the world, creating rivers and valleys with its massive body. Bila, which is spelled B-I-L-A. Listen, can you listen? B-I-L-A. Bila. Bila was the sun woman. You see how them... Anyway, Bila was the sun woman whose fire lit the world. Bila was the sun woman whose fire lit the world. She was destroyed by two lizard-like creatures called Kudana or Kuduna, which is spelled, you got your pen, pencil? K-U-D-N-A. She was destroyed by two lizard-like creatures called Kuduna and Muda, which is spelled M-U-D-A, who, frightened by the darkness they brought about by killing Bila, began hurling boomerangs into the sky in all directions, trying to bring back the light. Kuduna's boomerang flew into the eastern sky, and a brilliant ball of fire appeared, which slowly crossed the sky and vanished again beyond the western horizon. And day and night were born. The countless spirits and stories are the exquisite foundation on which the Aborigines build their reverent awe of all of the nature and their belief that it's mankind's privilege to live among and serve such hallowed creations. Dreamtime is a tangible reality of the Aboriginal past, present, and future. It isn't something that happened a very long time ago and was completed. It is an ongoing consciousness and responsibility with tragic consequences if it's ignored. A prophecy from an Australian Aboriginal tribal elder named Gubu Ted Thomas, which is spelled G-U-B-O-O, Gubu Ted Thomas, orally preserved until it was committed to writing, reflects their profoundly simple faith. And guys, we're about to go into the prophecies of the Australia Aborigines. Now, thank you for listening. Here we go. I was in dream time. I see the great wave going. I tell people about this wave. It wasn't a tidal wave. This was a spiritual wave. So to me, I believe that the dream time is going to be that. I believe that the revival is going to start in Australia when we are dreaming. It's the humming bee that I'm talking about, and love. We got to learn to love one another. You see, that's really what's going to happen to the earth. We're going to have tidal waves. We're going to have earthquakes. That's coming because we don't consider this land as our mother. We've taken away the balance, and we are not putting it back. I look at the brush, and those trees are alive. I look at the bush, and those trees are alive. They are not dead, they are alive. And they want you to cuddle them. And this is also, and that was, so far, we went through the American Indian prophecies. We just left the Australian Aborigines prophecies, and right here she has the Incas. And I don't have too much time, so I'm going to go into the Incas, which, they believe in the sun god. For them, nature formed the heart of the Inca language and the Inca religion as well. The Incas believed that all creation in nature was the work of the sun god, and they considered themselves to be descendants of the sun god. They held festivals at the end of every harvest season to thank the sun god for their bountiful crops or to pray for better crops. In the season ahead, and at the solstice, when the earth and the sun are at their farthest from each other, the Incas held ceremonies to ask the sun god not to leave his children. They believe in reincarnation and even carried the mummies of revered ancestors to the holiest of rituals so that ancestors could share the events with them. After the Inca civilization was destroyed in the 1500s, a small tribe of refugees called the Quero or Quero, that's spelled Quero, Quero or Quero, escaped the isolated villages in the high Andes or 80s. They lived there ever since, with the Quero elders and the shamans passing along the Inca language, history, traditions, and prophecies to 500 years of descendants. The Western world's first actual sighting of the I'm just going to call it Q, of the Q's villages didn't happen until 1955. Communication between the Westerners and the Q evolved from there, and in 1996, a tribal leader, the head shaman, and the other Q elders honored the United States with a historic visit in which, among other shared knowledge and rituals, they passed along the prophecies of their revered Inca ancestors. Those prophecies read in part. And here we go. The new caretakers of the earth will come from the West. And those that have made the greatest impact on Mother Earth now have the moral responsibility to remake their relationship with her after remaking themselves. The prophecy holds that North America will supply the physical strength, or body, Europe will supply the mental aspect, or head, and the heart will be supplied by South America. The prophecies are optimistic. They refer to the end of time as we know it, the death of a way of thinking and a way of being, the end of a way of relating to nature and to the earth. In the coming years, the Incas expect us to emerge into a golden age, a golden millennium of peace. The prophecies also speak of a tumultuous change happening in the earth and in our psyche, redefining our relationships and spirituality. The next Pacuta, and that's spelled Pachacuti, or Great Change, has already begun, and it promises the emergence of a new human after this period of turmoil. To which the Q shamans added in closing, follow your own footsteps, learn from the rivers, the trees, and the rocks. Honor the Christ, the Buddha, your brothers and sisters. Honor your Earth Mother and the Great Spirit. Honor yourself and all of creation. Look with the eyes of your soul and engage the essential. And I'm going to stop right there because we're going to have to take a part two. And on part two, because this might stop soon anyway. So on part two, we will be focusing on the Christian prophecies and the Christian prophets. Some names from example, we're going to be looking up Joseph, Moses, Elisha or Elijah, Samuel, Hosea, Isaiah, Amos, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Nathan, Isaiah, Micah, Jonah, and Malachi, to name a few. And we're going to go real deep into the Christian prophets and the Christian prophecies. And we're going to see how inspired Jesus was by certain prophets. We're going to see how so inspired Jesus was by the ancient prophets in the Old Testament. By the time we read the New Testament and compare it with the Old Testament, you're going to see how dedicated and how inspired Jesus really was to become, or Yeshua as we may know him, or Saint Issa as the ones in Tibet may know him, but Jesus as you know him. We're going to see how dedicated the Christ was and how dedicated Yeshua was to being the Christ. So with that being said, I thank you. Stay tuned to part 2. I hope you enjoy this. Because with the Darius Corbin channel, we're going to keep on banging this esoteric knowledge into your head. This is the world and the age of change. The world and age of the Aquarius, and the world that we now take control as creators. It is time for you to give yourself credit. It is time for you to celebrate every day of you. And knowing that you are greater, you celebrate with doing greater things and accomplishing and giving respect to even the small things, because them small things add up to greater things. Know your worth and value your worth. In this age of Aquarius, it is so important that we know our worth and that we value our worth. So with that being said, family, it is always a pleasure. Peace and love. And I'll see you soon.